Part 1. The Unraveling. On that fateful Friday afternoon, I'm not sure who was more stunned, me, finding my mother walking in through the back door of our home, or her, finding me, her 16-year-old son, sitting at the kitchen table doing homework while wearing a schoolgirl's uniform. For what felt like an eternity, we were frozen in a silent standoff, the world suspended between one breath and the next. Then she spoke, her voice unnervingly calm. "All right, Leo. We obviously need to talk about this. But I'm in a bit of a rush, so just stay as you are. I'll be as quick as I can, and then we can discuss this." She walked into the hallway and picked up her cleaning caddy, which was brimming with multi-surface sprays, aerosols, and an arsenal of cloths and dusters. She had clearly forgotten it that morning. I couldn't speak. I was on the verge of tears, my world having tilted on its axis in a quarter of a second. A tidal wave of guilt, fear, and shame crashed over me. Guilt for wanting to wear these clothes in the first place. Fear of what would happen now that I'd been discovered. And a profound, burning shame at being caught. Mom paused at the door, taking one last look at me. Her expression wasn't angry or disappointed. It was resigned. Yes, that was it. Resigned. And then she was gone. A small part of me was just glad my dad wasn't there to see this. He had passed away from cancer when I was 8. My memories of him are soft-edged and vague, but I remember a kind, loving man who cared deeply for his family. Then, the questions began to spiral. How had I been found out? What had triggered the discovery of what I thought was my private, guilty secret? My mom, Clara, was a home care worker. She had gone out that morning to see her client, Mr. Henderson, who lived a few streets away. He was in his 90s, with onset Alzheimer's and a pair of dodgy hips, but fiercely independent. She had left 90 minutes earlier and wasn't due back for at least another 2 hours. It was a teacher training day, so with the house to myself, I had decided to indulge in my hobby for a little while. I'd been captivated by women's clothes since I was young. It started when I was 10, with a swimsuit I found lying on the floor at school. I'd stuffed it into my bag and taken it home. It took another 2 weeks before I found the courage to put it on. That first time had been a revelation. The fabric was soft and smooth, the clinging material encasing my slender frame in a way that felt right. Incredible. I didn't have access to any other clothes until I was 13 and could shop for myself with the generous allowance I earned from odd jobs. I bought underwear and hosiery from department stores and blouses, skirts, and dresses from charity shops. I learned my sizes as I went, and over the last couple of years, I had amassed a whole wardrobe's worth of girls' clothes hidden in a large duffel bag in the back of my closet. Puberty brought problems. Hair grew on my arms, legs, and chest. My lean frame filled out with muscle. I was no bodybuilder, but the change was noticeable. In school, despite being popular enough, my nickname was the Runt, which tells you everything you need to know. And yet, I continued dressing. When I wore these clothes, I simply felt calmer, more confident, more whole. I didn't truly understand it, and I dared not search for answers online. We only had one computer in the family room, and if Mom saw that particular search history, it would lead to questions I couldn't answer. For the next hour, I sat in the living room, my thoughts a raging storm. The upcoming discussion played out in the movie theater of my brain. She would make me throw the clothes away. She would call all my friends and expose me. She would scream, shout, and throw me out onto the street. The one thing I desperately wanted to do was run to my room, change into my proper clothes, and pretend this never happened. But her words stopped me. Stay as you are. And she hadn't looked angry, just resigned. An hour and a quarter later, I heard the back door open. "Leo, could you come in here, please?" My body trembling, I shuffled into the kitchen. Mom was pouring coffee. She placed 2 mugs on the table, then pulled out a chair opposite me. She didn't fold her arms or cross her legs, none of the usual signs of her displeasure. "Okay, Leo." The obvious question. "Why are you wearing a girls' school uniform?" "No, Answer me this first. Where did you even get it? A charity shop, I mumbled. The underwear is from a high street store. Lift your chin, sweetheart. And speak clearly, please, Mom said, a soft smile touching her lips. And don't slump. Sit up straight. I adjusted my posture, a sniffle escaping me. The uniform is from a charity shop. I bought the underwear myself. A boy buying girls' clothes. That must have been a little embarrassing. It was, at first, I admitted, remembering the blush that I was sure made my face glow. But it got easier when I realized they just wanted my money. I see, Mom said, her expression thoughtful. And have you gone outside while dressed up? I shook my head emphatically. No, never. I wasn't lying. With my hairy arms and legs back then, I would never have passed. So, my original question. Why are you dressed as a girl? I glanced down at my clothes. A short-sleeved blouse, a classic pleated skirt that hung just above the knee, and a pair of black tights. I sighed, trying to compose my thoughts. I don't know, felt entirely inadequate, but it was close to the truth. I guess. I'm just fascinated by the feel of the clothes, the cut of them. I feel different when I wear them. In what way? Mom asked. I feel calmer, more confident. I feel nice. Right then, Mom took a sip of her coffee, then smiled broadly. Is this why you've been growing your hair out for 3 years? I had resisted her repeated demands for a haircut, wanting a style I could tie back but also arrange in a more feminine way. It was now shoulder length. I reached up and stroked it. Yes, it beats wearing a wig. My mom actually laughed. I'll bet it does. Okay, now for the uncomfortable question. Are you gay? I opened my mouth to say no, but then I thought about some of my fantasies. Eventually, I just shrugged. I don't know. I don't think so. I do like girls. That's okay. I think you're a little too young to know for sure which way you swing, to be honest. Do you have any other female clothes? Yeah. I've got a bag full upstairs. And have you ever worn any of my clothes? I almost laughed at that. Mom was tall and slender, but a different build from me. No. You're bigger than I am, no offense. Your clothes wouldn't fit. None taken. And I'm glad you haven't been in my wardrobe. She took a deep breath. Okay, so let me get this straight. You dress up at home while I'm out because you like the clothes and they make you feel calm and confident. Is that right? I nodded. Hope began to blossom in my chest. Okay, Leo, she said, her smile returning. I know a little bit about this. It's known as transvestism. She made a face. I prefer the term crossdressing. Transvestism sounds so cold and clinical, like a mental illness. Do you think you're the only boy who does this? I nodded again. I thought I was weird. Well, you're not. A surprising number of men have cross-dressed at some point. For some, it's a hobby. For others, it's more. But it's harmless. It's been removed from any list of psychological disorders for years. Unless you don't want to become a girl, do you? She looked genuinely worried now. No, I was adamant. I don't want to be a girl. I just like the clothes. Okay, good. Because that would raise other concerns. But if you just want to dress as a girl, then it's fine. That surprised me. It's fine? Really? She nodded, her expression encouraging. Really? I'm surprised, even shocked, but I'm not angry. And if you want to dress like a girl, that's fine with me. She then gazed at me shrewdly. Stand up. Walk to the doorway, turn around, walk back, and sit down. My puzzlement must have shown on my face. Trust me, she smiled. I did as she asked. Mom laughed out loud. You dress like a girl, but you walk like a boy. Watch me. She rose and walked to the doorway with a natural grace, her hips swaying gently. She turned and walked back, sitting down and crossing her legs elegantly. That's how a girl walks. Now you try it. I stood and mimicked her, placing one foot in front of the other. It added a slight wiggle to my hips I hadn't had before. I turned, sat, and even remembered to sweep the hem of my skirt beneath me before crossing my legs. I looked at Mom expectantly. Gem. Better. But you need practice. She smiled. Anyway, show me your clothes. Upstairs, I emptied the duffel bag onto my bed. Mom sorted through it, praising my taste. We spent the next few minutes putting everything away properly in my dresser and wardrobe. She asked me to change out of the uniform and into a pale blue dress that had caught her eye. I changed and met her back in the living room. We spent the evening watching television and eating takeout pizza. She gave me tips on how to walk, talk, and carry myself. The tips came less often as the evening wore on. As a movie played, she smiled at me. Gavin. I can't keep calling you Gavin when you're dressed like this. If you had been born a girl, your father and I were going to call you Stella. So, that's your girl name. If that's okay? Stella. I liked it. It suited me, at least in these clothes. Yes, please. Thank you, Mom. She merely smiled. You're welcome, Stella. At bedtime, she lent me one of her silk nightgowns. It was a bit big, but it felt wonderful. I slept better than I had in years, my dreams strange, but filled with a profound sense of contentment. Part 2. The Metamorphosis. I woke late on Saturday morning, unable to remember the last time I'd slept so deeply. My phone screen glowed with the time, 10:30. After a long shower, scrubbing away both the sleep from my body and the lingering phantom of guilt, I dressed in my usual male attire, clean jeans, a baggy old t-shirt, and my trainers. Downstairs, a note on the table from Mom read, "Gone shopping. Back at midday. Breakfast in the cupboard." I made myself scrambled eggs and toast, then lost an hour to the PlayStation. I heard the front door open, followed by Mom's footsteps heading up to her room. 10 minutes later, a knock on my door. Her head peeked in. Leo. Come downstairs, will you? I turned off my console and followed her down to the kitchen. She was sitting at the table, a broad, determined smile on her face. Sit down, Leo. I pulled out a chair. Right then, she began, her tone all business. After yesterday's discovery and after giving you your femme name, I've decided that if you're going to do this, you're going to do it properly. And that means you do exactly as I say, and you don't question me. Do you understand? I wasn't sure what I was signing up for, but I trusted her. Yes, I said. Good. She stood up. Follow me. She led me back to my room, reached into the wardrobe, and pulled out a short black skirt and a white top. Get undressed and meet me in the bathroom. I stripped down to my underwear and followed. Mom was sitting on the edge of the tub, 2 bottles in her hand. She looked up and smiled. Take your underwear off. Get naked. I blushed. Oh, don't be shy, she said, waving a dismissive hand. I used to change your diapers. I've seen it all before. I stripped off my boxers and socks, standing there feeling profoundly awkward as my mother fixed her gaze on mine, for which I was grateful. Right then, she said, holding up one of the bottles. This is depilatory cream. Smear it all over your body, everywhere but your head, and wait for 15 minutes. Use the whole bottle. When you're done, shower it off thoroughly. And pat yourself dry. Don't rub or you'll irritate your skin. Then, use this. She handed me the second bottle. It's a moisturizer. It'll keep your skin soft and supple. Meet me in your bedroom when you're done. Mom left me alone, and I started with the cream. It had a noxious chemical smell that stung my nose and made my eyes water slightly. It felt cold and goopy as I spread it over my legs, my arms, my chest, even the peach fuzz on my back. With the bottle empty, I stood shivering in the shower stall as the minutes ticked by. A mild itching and burning sensation began to prickle my skin. When the 15 minutes were up, I turned on the water. The result was bizarre and immediate. The hair on my body began to simply melt away, washing off in clumps down the drain. After several minutes under the stream, I was hairless from the neck down, my skin bare and unfamiliar. I patted myself dry as instructed, then applied the moisturizer. It had a gentle lavender scent and felt wonderful on my newly smooth limbs. When I was finished, I went back to my bedroom wearing nothing but a towel. Mom was waiting, sitting in the chair at my desk. Beside her were 3 large shopping bags. "So, you're hairless now. How does it feel?" she asked. I ran my hands over my arms, then my legs, marveling at the silky smoothness. "It's a little weird, but it feels nice." "Good. Now, I've thrown out some of your old underwear." She held up a hand to forestall my protest. "It was worn out, and you really need matching sets. So, I bought you some new pairs." She tipped one of the bags out onto my bed. A cascade of fresh, new underwear spilled out. "Go on," Mom said. "Pick something." I sorted through the bras and panties, selecting a matching set in a pale, buttery yellow. "Good choice," Mom nodded. "Now, before you put those on, you need this." She held out a flesh-colored object that looked like a cross between a thong and a strange contraption. "It's a gaff," she explained. "The tube at the front holds everything back and pushes your testicles up into your body. It creates a smooth front instead of an unsightly bulge." She left the room to give me some privacy. I struggled into the garment. It was a peculiar sensation. It wasn't the torture device I had imagined, but it wasn't exactly comfortable either. It pulled everything into place, leaving my groin with a smooth, flat, and undeniably feminine contour. Mom returned. "How does it feel?" "Not bad," I admitted. "I could get used to it." "Good. Put the underwear on." I donned the panties and bra. But before I could reach for the tights, Mom held up a hand. "Wait a minute." She pulled a large box from the second shopping bag. Inside were 2 startlingly realistic-looking breast forms. "These are C-cup silicone breast forms," she said, taking one out and cradling it in her palm. "They'll do a much better job than rolled-up socks, don't you think?" "Wow," I breathed. "These are great." "They must have been expensive." "They were," she said seriously. "So take good care of them." Standing up, she slipped one form into the left cup of my bra and the second into the right. They were cool and heavy at first, a strange weight on my chest, but they warmed quickly, settling against my skin as if they belonged there. Mom adjusted the straps, creating a firm and proper fit. "Right. Tights on now," she said. The sensation was exquisite. My newly hairless skin reacted to the delicate fabric of the diamond pattern tights in a way I'd never felt before. It was a symphony of new feelings, my senses reeling. "Wait," Mom said again, stopping me before I could reach for the skirt. She pulled a short, pink silk robe from another bag. "Put this on and follow me." I followed her to her bedroom. Her dressing table, usually a chaotic landscape of cosmetics, had been neatly organized. Her things were on the left. The right side was now filled with brand new items. "Right. Hair and makeup," she announced. "Sit down." I sat, remembering my promise not to question her. She plugged in a hairdryer and, with the practiced, efficient motions of the hairdresser she used to be, began to dry and style my hair. "So many split ends," she remarked. "You need to use conditioner, you know. It gives it body and volume." "I promise," I said. "Good. I'll need to trim it at some point. Just the split ends, to tidy it up and encourage growth." She paused, a thoughtful frown on her face. "I wonder what you'd look like as a blonde." She then began the makeup lesson, explaining every step as she applied foundation, powder, eyeliner, mascara, and shadow. A touch of blush to my cheeks, a coat of lipstick. When she was done, she handed me the top and skirt. "You can finish dressing." The skirt was a short, tight-fitting black lycra that clung to my body. The top was a white cold shoulder design that stretched over my torso, my new breasts creating a prominent, but not outrageous silhouette. Mom returned with a shoebox, revealing a pair of light gray ankle boots with a small 2-inch heel. I zipped them up and stood, wobbling for a moment, dizzy from the added height. "Still walking like a boy," Mom critiqued. "Smaller steps. One foot in front of the other." Swing your hips, not your shoulders. I practiced for a few minutes, slowly getting the hang of it. A proud smile bloomed on Mom's face. You're getting there, girl. Want to see what you look like? She led me to her mirrored wardrobe doors, which she'd had open. She closed them, and I saw my reflection for the first time. Oh my God. The young girl in the mirror put her hands to her cheeks, a look of pure astonishment on her face. She had a long mane of dark brown hair that flowed in soft waves. She was wearing a chic outfit that clung to her feminine curves. Her face was subtly transformed by the makeup, her eyes smoky, her cheekbones highlighted, her lips a soft pink. And the girl in the reflection was me. I couldn't believe it. I didn't just look like a girl. In that moment, I was a girl. I look like a girl, I whispered, striking a pose, one hand on my hip. Mom chuckled. You're looking good, Stella. I'm feeling good, Mom. It was later that evening when Mom dropped the bombshell. We had spent the afternoon practicing my feminine movements, relearning how to sit, stand, walk, and talk. After a light meal of salad, you have to look after your figure now, she'd said. We retired to the living room. Right then, Stella, she said, her expression bright. You need more clothes and shoes. More than I could get for you this morning. So, how do you feel about going shopping tomorrow? An eagerness I'd never felt before about shopping bubbled up. Yeah, I'd like to. That's good, she said, her smile widening. Because you'll be going dressed as you are now. As Stella. Fear, cold and sharp, coiled in my stomach. Fear of being recognized. Fear of being ridiculed. Fear of bringing shame on my mother. I shook my head, my voice barely a whisper. I'll be spotted. People will laugh at you. I can't do that to you, Mom. It was her turn to shake her head, and she was actually laughing now. Stella, if I thought for 1 minute you were going to embarrass me, I wouldn't even let you dress up in the house, let alone take you out. You look extremely passable. You look like a young girl, you walk and talk like a young girl. And we both know that sooner or later, you're going to want to go out dressed like this. I'd rather be with you when you do. So, what do you say? I was silent for a long moment, my confused thoughts a tangled mess. I had never really considered passing as a girl in public. But if she thought I could do it. Okay, I said, the word coming out stronger than I expected. I'll do it. Good. A wave of relief seemed to wash over her. Well, it's been a busy day. I'm proud of you. Let's have a relaxing night in front of the telly, shall we? After a light-hearted argument over which movie to watch, I found myself settling in for the night, a new and thrilling chapter of my life about to begin. Part 3. The First Step. I was roused from a deep sleep by a hefty knocking on my door. I groaned and glared at my alarm clock, just past 9. On a Sunday. I pulled the covers over my head. Go away, I grunted. The door opened, and the covers were ripped off the bed. I blinked up at my mom, already dressed, a smile breaking across her face. Get up, sleepyhead. We have a lot to do today. Shower, put on your underwear and robe, and come down for breakfast. I found the pale blue nightgown she'd bought me folded neatly at the end of my bed. After my shower, where I dutifully washed, conditioned, and towel-dried my long hair, I slipped into the gaff, still as uncomfortable as I remembered, the matching pale yellow bra and panties, and a pair of tights. Wrapping the pink silk robe around me, I headed down to the kitchen. Good morning, Stella. How are you feeling? Okay, I guess, I said, gesturing vaguely toward my chest. Still getting used to these. Mom chuckled. Well, get used to them, girl. I've had to. She placed a boiled egg and a plate of toast soldiers in front of me. After breakfast, I followed her to her bedroom, where she sat me down at the dressing table. What followed was an hour-long, hands-on makeup tutorial. Under her patient instruction, I applied my own makeup, correcting my fumbling mistakes as I went. By the time the lip gloss went on, I looked sophisticated, elegant. The soft, natural look she had guided me toward made my eyes pop and highlighted my cheekbones. It was amazing. Okay, Go and get dressed now, she said. I returned to my room. My outfit for the day was laid out. A dark blue satin blouse and a black skirt that, when I pulled it on, turned out to be a little shorter than I'd expected, not scandalous, but it had a flair to it that I liked. I couldn't resist doing a little twirl in front of my mirror. I heard a soft laugh and turned to see my mom in the doorway. How do I look? I asked. A warm, proud light filled her eyes. Like my daughter. A little while later, we were driving to a shopping center on the edge of town, far from anywhere we might run into people we knew. Leaving the house for the first time as Stella was the most nerve-wracking thing I had ever done. I stood in the hallway wearing a black, feminine-cut leather jacket Mom had bought me, clutching a handbag she had lent me. Inside, she had placed my phone, my cash, and a purse, along with a hairbrush, a compact mirror, and my lipstick, just in case. I waited in the doorway as Mom started the car. Then, putting on a pair of dark sunglasses, I scuttled to the passenger door, dropped into the seat, swung my legs in, and tried to sink into the upholstery. Seatbelt, please, Mom said, snatching the sunglasses from my face. And no hiding. Sit up straight. My nervousness began to dissipate as we left our neighborhood behind. By the time we pulled into the shopping center car park, I was sitting up, watching the world go by. She parked 100 feet from the entrance. Are you ready? She asked. No, I wasn't. I was terrified. For a moment, I wished I could rewind time, back to a point before any of this had happened. I glanced at the bustling entrance, then back at Mom. Yes, I breathed. Let's go then. As we walked toward the entrance, I felt my mom take my hand. It was a simple gesture, but it sent a current of confidence through me. I squeezed her hand back. I could do this. We spent the first hour getting essentials, more underwear, more makeup, and 3 pairs of new shoes, 2 pairs of flats, and a pair of 3-inch, stocky white heels. You'll need a new dress to go with those, Mom had declared. The first time Mom suggested I try on a dress, I nearly had a panic attack right there in the shop. But she calmed me down, and I found myself in a changing room, wriggling into a white dress with lace sleeves and a hemline that settled just above my knees. It was absolutely adorable. My mother's face lit up when she saw it. It hangs on you beautifully, Stella. I was nervous approaching the young saleswoman, certain she would see right through me and announce to the entire store that I was a boy in drag. But she just smiled, took the dress, scanned it, and placed it in a bag. There you go, miss, she said cheerfully. I hope your boyfriend likes it. I walked away from that counter practically floating. Mom had one final store to visit. She steered me toward a Victoria's Secret. I flushed, embarrassed to be surrounded by all the lacy, feminine underwear. You need some pretty matching sets, she said. Find something you like. Something with a garter belt and stockings. Ultimate femininity. She grinned. One set did indeed catch my eye, a black bra and panty set with intricate gold and silver embroidery, complete with a matching garter belt. It was ludicrously expensive, but Mom insisted. She saved me the embarrassment of purchasing it herself while I waited outside. We had just reached the fountain near the entrance, our conversation light and easy, when a voice called out, Clara. Clara, is that you? Mom turned and was suddenly engulfed in an embrace. She struggled for a moment before recognition dawned, her face breaking into a wide smile. Diane. Long time no see. Her name was Diane Whitley. She had been our next-door neighbor until about 18 months ago, when she and her son, a boy a year older than me named Alex, had moved away. Diane and my mom had been inseparable. My God, Clara, you haven't changed a bit, Diane said. She followed my mother's gaze and her eyes landed on me. I quickly looked away, my heart pounding. Clara, Diane asked quietly, a curious tone in her voice. Is this who I think it is? Oh, Mom sounded suddenly flustered. Diane, this is my daughter, Stella. Your daughter, Diane said. I turned back. She was peering at me, her expression a mixture of confusion and dawning realization. Then she shrugged, a what the heck look on her face, and a warm smile spread across her lips. Hello, Stella. My, how you've grown. You're very pretty. I blushed. Thank you, Auntie Diane. Diane then turned to a tall, slender young woman who had been standing back, her head down, a curtain of golden hair hiding her features. She was dressed in a pale blue skirt, a white blouse, black tights, and high-heeled shoes. Let me introduce you to my daughter, Diane said, grabbing the girl's shoulder and pulling her forward. This is Helen. Say hello, Helen. The girl looked up. Wait a minute. Her eyes grew wide as she recognized me. Her name wasn't Helen. It was Alex. Helen, Alex, looked from me to my mom, a flicker of confidence returning to her face. Hi, Auntie Clara. She glanced awkwardly at me. Hi, Stella. I stared, my mouth hanging open until common sense intervened. Hello, Helen, I finally managed. It's nice to meet you. An awkward silence hung in the air, thick and heavy. Then, Diane brightened. Hey, I've just had a great idea. Why don't you and I go catch up over coffee, Clara? And the girls can grab a burger and get reacquainted. We can meet back here in an hour. How does that sound? My mom actually considered it. Then she smiled. I think that sounds great. What do you think, girls? The look on Helen's face told me she thought it was as bonkers as I did. But then, she glanced at me and a slow smile spread across her face. I think that's a great idea. What do you think, Stella? Before I could protest, Helen stepped forward and took my arm. Come on, Stella, she said, her voice full of mischief. I think we have a lot to talk about. Part 4. The Sisterhood. The bank holiday Monday dawned bright and hot. Unable to sleep, I dragged myself out of bed, dressed in a pair of boxer shorts, jeans, and a t-shirt, and headed down to the kitchen. My reflection in the hall mirror was a strange, androgynous figure, clearly a boy, but with softer features, a lingering echo of Stella. Morning, Leo, Mom said, coming into the kitchen in her dressing gown. Sleep well. Yeah, really well, I said, making her a coffee. Good. Diane wants us at her house for 1 o'clock, which means we have to leave by 12:30 at the latest. Which means, she added with a pointed look, you need to start getting ready by 11 at the earliest. By 1:15, we were pulling into the driveway of a large, modern house. Diane was waiting for us outside, a tall, friendly-looking man at her side. We were a little late. I had decided to wear the fancy new lingerie set, and navigating the garter belt and stockings had taken longer than expected. I had paired them with the white lace dress and my new 3-inch heels. Clara, so good to see you again, Diane said, embracing my mom before turning to me. Hello, Stella. You look fabulous. She pulled the tall man forward. This is Daniel. Dan, this is my friend Clara and her daughter, Stella. Daniel shook Mom's hand warmly before turning to me. You must be Stella, he said, his smile genuine. He extended a hand, and I shook it. It's a pleasure. We stepped inside, and Helen appeared, dressed casually in light gray jeggings and a t-shirt. Seeing her, I suddenly felt a little overdressed. Hey, Stella. Great to see you again. She grinned. Come on, I'll show you around. She led me through their stunning house, a kitchen out of a cookery show, a garden that looked more like a small park, and finally, upstairs to her room. It was clearly a girl's domain, with pastel colors, a canopy bed, and 2 large wardrobes crammed full of clothes. I'll be wearing this for the barbecue, she said, holding up a beautiful pale blue dress with lace sleeves. I'm thinking of wearing stockings with it. What do you think? You should, I said, lifting the hem of my dress just enough to reveal the lacy top of my own stocking. I am, after all. Helen nodded appreciatively. My girlfriend, Frankie, loves it when I wear stockings. Just then, the doorbell rang. Oh, speak of the devil. That must be her now. Helen opened the door to a tall, slender girl with short blonde hair and a confident air. This was Frankie. She embraced Helen, then her eyes fell on me. "So you're Stella," she said, her eyes widening in surprise. "I've heard a lot about you. You look fantastic. Very natural. I love the dress." An hour later, the barbecue was in full swing. Daniel was at the grill, music flowed from the house, and the garden was filled with the lively chatter of guests. And the only person dressed in male clothes was Daniel. The rest were a vibrant mix of actual women and men dressed as women, their ages ranging from teenagers like Helen and me to a distinguished 67-year-old gentleman who called herself Vanessa, the founder of the group. Vanessa, accompanied by her wife, Fiona, was the first person I was introduced to. Dressed in an elegant peach business suit, she explained that she had founded the group in 2010 after taking early retirement and finally being free to dress, as she'd always wanted. Fiona, who had known about Vanessa since they started dating in the 70s, beamed with pride. I met so many different people, each with their own story. Some, like Vanessa, were flawlessly passable. Others were not and didn't care to be. They just loved the clothes. One girl named Penny was there on her own. Her wife didn't approve of her dressing, so the group was her only outlet. Hearing her story made me realize how incredibly lucky I was to have my mom. I found myself on the couch in the living room with a couple in their early 20s, Hannah and her girlfriend, Kelly. "I started dressing when I was very young," Hannah told me. "I was fascinated by my older sister's gymnastics leotards. I tried one on and that was it. I was a little freaked out at first," Kelly added, "but then I realized that Hannah was just another, really lovely, part of Andrew." As we talked, I honestly forgot that Hannah was a 24-year-old man named Andrew. I don't think they even registered that I was a 16-year-old boy named Leo. The party moved indoors as the evening grew chilly. I learned so much that day, that what I was doing wasn't a perversion or a fetish, that it didn't mean I was gay or wanted to become a girl. A doctor, dressed as a nurse, even told me that medical research showed that men who embraced a female persona to deal with stress often led healthier, more compassionate lives. My mom, after catching up with Diane, also mingled, and I could see her learning and understanding more with every story she heard. Later, I was left in the dining room with a girl named Julia. She was part of a brother-sister duo, Tammy and Julia. Tammy was actually a boy named Thomas, but Julia was, well, Julia. She was slender, with a mane of auburn hair and clear blue eyes that seemed to sparkle when she smiled. And it turned out we had everything in common, a love for sci-fi movies, a PlayStation, even a passion for cycling. I found myself ridiculously comfortable in her company, and I got the distinct impression she felt the same way. At 8:45, Mom appeared and said it was time to go home. As we walked to our car, Julia rushed over to me. "I'll see you soon, Stella," she said, her voice soft. "And I hope I get to see Leo even sooner." She paused, then leaned in and kissed me on the cheek. I was stunned into silence. Then my brain rebooted. "I look forward to it," I managed to say. "You got my number, right?" she called as she walked back to her waiting car. "Yes, you'd better call me, Leo," she said, and then she was gone. My mom was gazing at me, her smile wide and knowing. "I think you've pulled, Stella." "Oh, please, Mom." I rolled my eyes, but a warm feeling was spreading through my chest. Back at home, I got changed out of the dress and lingerie and wiped the makeup from my face. I was just about to leave my room when my phone rang. My heart leaped when I saw the caller ID. "Hey, Julia. You okay?" "I'm fine. Just checking that you got home okay." "Yeah, we made it." "Good," she said. "And speaking of movies, they're still showing that science fiction film we talked about. Do you want to go on Wednesday?" "Hell yeah." I blurted out. "Do you want me to come as Stella, or?" "As Leo, of course," she said softly. "I think Stella is cute and all, but I want to get to know Leo." She paused, and my heart hammered against my ribs. Then, she took a breath. Okay, I'm just going to say it. I fancy you and I'd like to meet you as a boy. My confidence soared. I fancy you too, I said, a grin spreading across my face. And if you like me as Stella, you'll love me as Leo. Her laughter was like music. After we made arrangements to meet, I headed downstairs. Mom was in the kitchen, sorting out the pizza she'd picked up on the way home. Hey, you're Leo again. Yeah, I said. I don't want to be a girl all the time. And since I've spent the whole weekend as a girl, I'd like to be a boy for a while. Mom nodded, her expression full of understanding. Okay, no problem. Who were you talking to? Julia. She invited me to the cinema on Wednesday. Mom's face lit up. Ooh, has my boy got himself a date? Possibly. So, are you going as Stella or? No. She wants to meet me as Leo. That's great. That's wonderful. My little boy is growing up into a confident young. She paused, then her eyes twinkled. Woman. I almost choked on my Coke, a mixture of laughter and sputtering. Mom just watched me, a warm smile on her face. There's just one thing, she said, as I composed myself. Oh! If you're going out on your first date, young man, she declared, her tone playfully stern, you're going to do it properly.